Welcome to Loot Locales, a series that highlights the most significant resource areas in Fallout. Today, we're covering 4 of the finest homes in Fallout 76. Hornwright Summer Villa, the Overlook Cabin, Sugermaple, Torrance House, and what was once Burdett Manor, now named the Killbox. Together, these homes form Mansions Row, and with this being the richest street address, it makes sense there would be an abundance of loot here, including 2 sugar bombs that may or may not be laced with rat poison, a spilling of Gourd Blossoms that every herbivore build should know about, and a unique item that's locked inside this secret hatch at the Killbox. Let's explore. We start at the Hornwright Summer Villa. Once a luxurious retreat for the infamous Hornwright family, the landscaping crew has long since abandoned the area, and the pesky liberators that landed here now have the home field advantage. Players who use vats will want to stay elevated to avoid any interference from the tall grass. Basically, Vault Boy here has the right idea. Inside the greenhouse, a single random enemy guards a gourd planter. These gourds, used for crafting the popular food buff cranberry relish, are one of the few plants that players can grow at their own camp. As such, every player at some point needs a gourd, and given how easy it is to grab this one, I think it's the best option for new players. Beyond the gazebo and up the hill, you'll stumble upon some rather odd object placement. 4 honeycombs hovering just above the grass. Beneath them sits a bumblebear teddy bear, the first of 10 that we'll collect on Mansions Row. 2 honeycombs are used to make sweet Labrador tea that is usually then used as an ingredient to make company tea. Though nowadays most players use the company tea machine, these specific honeycombs were once one of the most sought-after ingredients in Fallout 76's history. Further up the hill is an unmarked location called Birdhouse Maker. There seems to have been some cut content here because the official guide says this hillside is the best place to get pumpkin seeds. Considering how in the live game, pumpkin seeds can only be given as a reward for completing the daily quest Trick or Treat, I can't help but wonder why this other source was cut from the game. Back at Hornwright Summer Villa, there's a good bit of loot, a keycard needed to access the Hornwright estate, and a hole in the floor that leads to a rather grim scene. The body of a mysterious young woman glowing below a wall of brain fungus. Looting this corpse will trigger a side quest that, conveniently, begins a few houses down on Mansions Row. Consider scrapping at the armor bench before heading back outside. Inside the Hornwright's detached garage, liberators patrol the 2nd floor. They guard some quality junk, like some leftover rat poison, and most notably, 2 of the most guaranteed boxes of sugar bombs in the game. While these 2 boxes are still subject to the normal item pickup rules, they have a 100% chance to spawn otherwise. For the never-ending quest that is farming sugar bombs, this extra reliability is appreciated, making Hornwright Summer Villa always worth the visit. Down the hill on the other side of Route 87, Overlook Cabin looms above the dried lake bed that was once Summersville Lake. Spread across 3 floors and an outdoor pool area, the Overlook Cabin is guarded by a total of 6 scorched and is mostly noteworthy for its quantity of loot. Within the fallen home is a well-stocked kitchen, where you might find a box of sugar bombs and 2 pumpkin pie. In the kids' room upstairs, a possible Easter egg can be found among the mess of toys. Here you'll find a bunch of wood blocks, a full giddy-up buttercup, and 2 teddy bears for challenges. In the basement, 2 scorched guard a hidden room that ties into a secret quest from the Wastelanders update. And while there isn't any loot inside, there is a note with a bit of lore I found to be quite funny and worth the reread. Outside, carved out and into the lake bed below, is a scene that's worth remembering. 4 teddy bears rowing a canoe, a whimsical thing to stumble upon. Given the 2 teddy bears back in the kids' room, the 4 here, and additionally, the 3 that can be found at the nearby unmarked location Plastic People's Camp, the Overlook Cabin is my go-to for when I have the toughest of the teddy bear challenges. Next up is Sugermaple, a mansion that lives up to its name with several snaptails growing in its fountain. The main highlight here, however, is at the front of the mansion. A bunch of gourd blossoms have spilled out onto the road. With there being 14 in total, this is the densest cluster of gourd blossoms in the game. Gourd blossoms, not to be confused with gourds, are an essential ingredient to craft steeped gourd blossom tea, which is the best endurance buff for herbivore builds. I consider the easy gourd blossoms here to be exceptional, and they are largely what inspired this video. Be sure to thank the driver for the gourd blossoms before heading up the road for even more loot opportunities. This is Torrance House. Here, the robot landscaping crew remains hard at work, with iBots maintaining the shrubs and the hedge maze out back. The environmental storytelling makes it obvious. This location is a reference to Stephen King's The Shining. A tricycle next to a series of woodblocks is a direct reference to Jack Torrance's son Danny, who, throughout The Shining, tries to warn his family of impending danger. A second reference is found in the hedges, where a skeleton holding an axe can be found backed against the maze wall. This is a definite Easter egg to Jack Torrance and his final, chilling moments. Though these two references are very clear, a few other, more subtle Easter eggs may exist. On the roof, a tuxedo-wearing Protectron named Jacques can be found disabled, and nearby, another teddy bear can be collected beside two skeletons posed as lovers. Also, for whatever reason, a bunch of inaccessible junk items can be seen fallen through the floor at this location. Though none of it is unique, it's worth mentioning. The robots at the Torrance house seem a bit more sophisticated than normal. Either way, I'd love to see Bethesda add some quirky robo-science lore here, whatever would be enough to justify adding a winter weather machine to this location in the main game. Across the street, where the weather has miraculously cleared, is the kill box. This disturbing Blood Eagle base is packed with hostiles. It's usually my first stop for the various Blood Eagle or human-related challenges, given it's tied for first for having the most Blood Eagles. And out of all the locations we've been to so far, I find the kill box to be the most fun to loot. Though taking out the Blood Eagles before their explosive weapons knock everything over and onto the floor can be its own kind of challenge. While visiting, be sure to contemplate your own mortality as you enter the locked armory on the second floor. 6 ballistic fiber and a bunch of other good loot can be found inside. On the roof, there's a skeleton surrounded by the densest cluster of empty Nuka-Cola bottles in the game. With all the empty bottles, cups, and lamps here, the kill box is ranked first or tied first for the place with the most glass. A rare Nuka cranberry spawns in the attic, and on the ground floor, another teddy bear rests in a stroller. It's here that I recently discovered something peculiar about the kill box: this hatch. Digging through Appalachia, I found an interior space with a name I didn't recognize: Burdett Manor Basement. It appears Bethesda has plans to open this interior space, possibly sometime next year. Now, I don't see any items or junk here that stand out at first glance. However, there is something unique tucked away in this basement: a flash fermenter. This is a copy of the one-time use instant fermenter that's located in the Nuka Shine with Biv. Whether this was intended or just a coincidence, I can't say for certain, though it might hint at some future possibilities. And it does add more context to this location being a hotspot for glass. Again, there is currently no way to enter this interior space, though if you're looking to be one of the first, I'd keep an eye on this hatch, even between updates, because Bethesda has recently gotten into the habit of unlocking interior spaces without officially telling anyone. Finally, we end our route at this peaceful, unmarked location that features a skeleton beside some loose soot flower. We're just west of Riverside Manor, the final home on Mansions Row. While the Manor of Mystery also contains an impressive amount of loot on the inside, the exterior is known for its garden of soot flower. In fact, all of Mansions Row is great for picking soot flower, especially if you're an herbivore build stopping by for the Gourd Blossoms. And, while in no way is this consequential, as it turns out, this basket contains the densest cluster of loose soot flower in the game. And so, it's here in this quiet place. I'm reminded that even the littlest of loot details can be fun to discover. This wraps up the second episode of Loot Locales. I hope you enjoyed this installment and that it helps you get the most out of Mansions Row. Happy looting, and thank you for watching.